after I got out of the military and I entered into corporate America, it didn't take long before someone had suggested to me that I pick up golf. That golf would be a great skill to learn to enhance my career. And sure enough, when I looked at everybody in the companies that I had worked for that were very successful and were in the positions and places that I wanted to be, they typically all played golf. And not to mention, a few of the companies that I worked for even had golf leagues. And when I looked at who was in the golf leagues, it was all the executives and then the people aspiring to be executives. So I thought, yeah, this is probably something that I need to learn. And so I ventured out to take up golf. But golf never stuck for me. And I realized not only during that journey of picking up golf, there are so many similarities to when I decided to take up day trading or options trading, that when I decided that this was a new skill set that I wanted to acquire, there are so many things that are in common between the both, and yet golf didn't stick and options trading did. And so today I want to share with you some of the things that they have in common and what was the key factor that made one stick and the other didn't. All right, let's get into it. One of the things that golf and options trading have in common is that it's easy to do, but it's super hard to get good at it. Meaning anybody can go out to a driving range, pick up a club and swing at a ball. Doesn't mean you're gonna have good results, but it's easy to do. You could go out and do it. Same thing. You could open a brokerage account, blindly place a trade. There you go. You're a trader. But your results most likely aren't gonna be good. So even though there is a low barrier to entry for both of these things, man, it is very difficult to get competent, to get good at them over a consistent and sustained time. Another thing that they have in common is that in order to get any sense of competency, it takes a lot of time and effort. And I remember with golf, when I started, kind of being mentored by some of the other folks in the company, they all had a regimen in common. Most of them would get up when the driving range opened at 5 a.m. and they would be there to hit a few buckets of balls before they had to hop on the freeway to get to work. There was a driving range typically near our company, driving to the driving range so they could hit a few buckets of balls at lunchtime. And then, they would use the excuse that the freeways are packed after work, so they would go hit another couple buckets of balls after work, and then they would drive home. Likewise, they would always play golf Saturdays and Sundays, and if they couldn't, they were usually highly upset. And so there was a lot of time and effort being put in to golf that I saw, and I got it because it's super hard to do and it's hard to be competent at it. And I realized that if I was going to be at any level of competency, I would probably have to do the same or something similar. And the interesting thing about it was, to me, is I saw these folks that dedicated their entire waking life outside of work to golf, and they were typically the better ones in the golf league. Now, for me, day trading is not a lot different for me. I tried that with golf, that routine of morning, lunch, after work, and again, it didn't stick. With day trading, though, I find myself doing the same thing. I live on the West Coast, so the market opens at 9:30 a.m. Eastern or 6:30 a.m. Pacific. So I'm usually up at 4:30, 5 a.m. every day. I have my pre-market routine, and then I try to trade for an hour or two before I have to leave for work. Now, my lunch hour in California is noon to 1 p.m. That happens to also be the last hour the market is open during the day because it closes at 4 p.m. So what do I do on my lunch hour if I'm not, in a lunch meeting or something like that? I sit there and I try to trade that last hour of the market too. And then what do I do when I come home? I update my trade log. I analyze all of the trades I took that day, what the outcome were, looking at trends and patterns and watching new videos. So I'm no different than those guys and gals doing that for golf, right? I work on it before work, I work on it at my lunch hour, and I work on it afterwards. So it's very similar, but for some reason it didn't stick with golf. And for day trading or options trading, I don't mind it. I love every minute of it. And so we'll get into what the difference is. Another thing they have in common is that you can't half-ass it in golf or in trading. And I don't mean overall an approach, I mean in everything that you do. With every trade that you place, you must be fully present and fully aware of your surroundings. With golf, it's the same thing. You can't be unfocused for a single shot or it's going to end up horrible. So they both require a lot of presence, a lot of focus and discipline every single moment you're engaged in it. Another aspect they have in common is, although maybe the commodity that you're giving up is different, it's similar. And what I mean by that is, I talked about in golf the time that people put into it, and a lot of those people that I knew and my colleagues and my coworkers, that time that they dedicated to golf was not free. They missed time with family, missed time with their partner and their kids, and little league games and soccer games and all of that stuff, and they chose to miss those things in order to work on their golf game. So it didn't come free. There was sacrifices that had to be made. And in trading, it's kind of the same thing, except for it's not just time, but it's also money. Do you have the money to lose, so to speak, in day trading, right? And so, for example, like when I was a young corporate guy in golf, I didn't have a wife, I didn't have kids, so my time was much more free to give. There was no real trade-off. There was no sacrifice being made, right? I had nothing else pulling on my time. With day trading, I look at that as, do I have the money to lose? There's a big difference between saying, I have this chunk of money, and if I lose it learning day trading, then I lose it, versus I'm playing with my mortgage payment. If I don't, reach some level of success quickly, I'm gonna get evicted from my home. Those sacrifices are very different. And so for me, I try to always make sure to day trade with money that I can afford to lose. If it's gone, it's gone. It's not gonna ruin my life. And man, unfortunately, I saw some horror stories from my colleagues who maybe didn't have that time to sacrifice, but they did anyway, and it caused lots of consequences in their personal life. So I just want to look at my notes here, and I wrote down some things that they all have in common, that golf and day trading have in common. Fundamentals and basics, right? Like, again, it's hard to get good at these things. You need to start with the fundamentals and the basics, and that is only going to be enough to kind of get you in the arena, but it doesn't guarantee results. The second is the importance of practice. I think both of these ventures, take a real skill set that is only going to be obtained through practice, hard work, and effort. Third is patience and discipline. I can't tell you how much patience and discipline that is in day trading. I've beat this to death in other videos. And in golf, it's the same way. Golf is incredibly hard. You go through times where you're not hitting well, and it requires that same patience and discipline to your process. Another thing they have in common is dealing with losses. I think with both, You sometimes miss the shot that could win the round for you, that could win the league for you, shots that you typically make, and for some reason you just missed it. And that I have seen devastate people. And it's the same way with trading. There are times where you've just made more money than you've ever made. You've had some really successful days in the last week or so, and then all of a sudden you have the worst day of your life and you see your profits melt away in front of you. So you have to be able to deal with losses in both golf and day trading. And the next thing they have in common that goes right in hand with that we've talked about in previous videos is emotional control. I have seen people on the golf course absolutely lose their cool, throw clubs, break clubs, curse, kick, scream, and they never do better after that, right? They never like have a tantrum and break stuff and then like, oh, okay, that got them refocused and they're on their game. No, they usually just hit a downhill slide. And it's the same thing with day trading. You know, once you get into your head over a bad trade or a bad couple of days, you get back into the market and you're not going to do any better if you haven't dealt with the psychology of it. The last thing they have in common is what I want to talk about, which was the difference between golf and day trading. And that is enjoying the journey or developing a passion for it. And for me, that's the key that was missing. There were things I liked about golf, you know, being able to be out in the sunshine, have cocktails with your friends, that's cool. But there just wasn't enough things that I loved in order to make the time and effort that I was sacrificing worth it. I didn't enjoy the journey. I didn't even really enjoy spending 6 hours of a Saturday and a Sunday, you know, out there playing golf. It wasn't enough for me. But with day trading, it was completely different. When I decided that that was a skill that I wanted to acquire, the more I got into it, the more things I found I love. And as nerdy as this sounds, there is nothing I love more than data and spreadsheets and trend analysis and pattern recognition and reading about how patterns were discovered and developed and the men and women that were behind some of these discoveries. I find it fascinating. Why? I don't know. But the reason that golf never stuck is that I was pushing myself to do something that I really didn't want to do, that I didn't have a love for. And therefore it became a chore, it became a burden. Where with options trading with investment current, it's never been like that. There's no better way I love starting my day than getting up and hopping into the trade room and being with the rest of the people in the community. There's nothing I love more than spending my lunch hour trying to analyze what the market has done all day and if there's any potential opportunities in that last hour. More when I get home is to watch videos and to update my trade log, to look at my successes and my failures, and to look at my weaknesses and figure out what can I do. And you're constantly thinking and brainstorming and planning. And those are all of the things that I love to do. But if you don't enjoy that, then day trading won't stick for you. If you don't like those aspects, if those aspects are difficult for you to do because you just don't have a love for them, then it's probably not going to stick for you. Because a lot of us retail traders, part-time retail traders, we don't do this for a living, right? A lot of us in the investment current community work full-time. So I have to fit this around my full-time job until hopefully at one point my skill set becomes good enough that I can prove to myself that I can have consistent and sustained revenue over a long period of time. Once I've proven to myself that I can have consistent and sustained revenue over a long period of time, would I be comfortable moving into trading options on a full-time basis? But until then, I absolutely enjoy the journey. I absolutely love it, and that's what keeps me going. In joining Investment Current, I get to be with other people that have that same passion for options trading. And so it's great to be in a community with like-minded people. And until I can do it full time, I'm appreciative for the time that I have, and I love every moment of it. All right, my friends, that's my story about golf and options trading and what it was like to acquire those skills, although in golf I never did. That's all I got for today. Thanks for hanging out with me. Please leave me a comment below if you got any thoughts on this. Until next time, my friends, happy trading.